Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Pause Hold Up Breaking News, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news. We will get back to our NFL preview, but right now, Micah Parsons has been traded to the Green Bay Packers from the Dallas Cowboys for 2 first-round picks and veteran defensive lineman Kenny Clark. I am your baffled, bewildered, yet not really surprised co-host Reggie.
I am your equally not as surprised co-host Norwood. Our powers combined, we are your HBCU homeboys. Today we are here to talk at Micah Parsons trade. That doesn't surprise us, but for sure it's very interesting. How you feeling about it? Now that the shock is kind of, I don't know if the shock is wearing off, but the fallout is here.
When I don't understand things or things are incomplete, it bothers me.
And before we get into it, I would say let's do this. I want to give the trade details first for anybody who, for any reason, you did not hear. The Packers acquire edge Micah Parsons and then sign him to a 4-year, $188 million contract, $136 million guarantee, $120 million at signing. And the Dallas Cowboys acquire 2 first-round picks, defensive lineman Kenny Clark, who gets paid $2.3 million in 2025, $21.5 million in 2026, and $20 million in 2027. That is a ton of cap space that I did not acknowledge.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. It is, but you got to. Okay. Thank you for the parameters. So, how I have this kind of set up in my brain, in my notes. Y'all know my notes right there. So, I'm looking off into the side in the abyss. It's my notes. It's like, how do we get here? Got to talk about Jerry when we talk about how do we get here, and then like what does it mean for the Packers and the Cowboys this year, and what does it mean going forward, and what are like the playoff implications and all of that. Those are the points that I wanted to discuss in the trade.
Well, I'm going to give a quick timeline here. Early August 2025, Michael Parsons asked for a trade, and then at that point becomes like a hold in. So he's going to camp, but he's not actually participating. August 23rd, he reported back tightness, got an MRI that everybody said was pretty clean, except for his doctors. And then August 28th, today, the deal broke. Just so y'all have a kind of an estimation. And of course, they've been talking about this contract since I think it was around March, and I think Jerry made the offer for. Reportedly, we don't have any true documentation that says that it was 4 years, $202 million. That 4 to 5 years, $202 million.
So this started out last year because they knew that Micah Parsons was not going to go into his 5th year option to play on his contract because one, you could get hurt. If you remember, the Cowboys drafted a linebacker out of Notre Dame who got hurt, and it ended up out of Notre Dame. He got hurt and it ended up hurting them going into the draft. And there's been countless other examples of players getting hurt in their 5th year option, playing on the 5th year option and losing hundreds of millions of dollars at that point. Or you play on the 5th year option and then you get franchised over and over again, which is basically a 1-year contract for 2 or 3 years. Not saying that that's what would have happened, but that's why most players don't play on their 5th year option. So, yes, in August is when the shit hit the fan. Yes. But it's also.
But the shit had been sitting there for a minute.
Yeah, he's been talking about this since last year. And at that point, Micah Parsons had already said he was kind of getting frustrated because one, he felt like, well, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, has averaged 12 sacks a year.
Correct.
Which, coming out of college and being an immediate All-Pro, normally gets you paid.
The only other person who's done that is Reggie White, for context.
Yeah, he's already outplayed the rookie contract. And then when Jerry didn't budge last year, He didn't make a big stink out of it. Now, the 6-year 202 is the paper napkin discussion, where Jerry says he sat down with Micah and said they came up with a deal right then and there, but the agent wasn't present. And Micah is saying, man, he wrote it on a napkin. And I took it back to my agent, and my agent said we got to discuss the parameters. And Jerry said he's not going to do that. For algebraic purposes, the contract with Green Bay gives him $34 million guaranteed money. If what's true or what Jerry offered him, that's $33 million guaranteed money over 6 years instead of 4. So when you think about that, Micah Parsons is 26 years old, 25, will be 26. If he gets a 6-year deal plus the 5th-year option, that's a 7-year extension essentially, which means that's his last contract, his last big contract, because 26 plus 7 is 33. So that means he's either locked in till he's 33 with the Cowboys at this rate, no matter what he does, or he's going to come back to the negotiating table in 2 or 3 years. Whereas a 4-year deal gets him to be 30, and then he can renegotiate and say,
Yes,
hey,
I want
I'm
to
worth it.
I want to
And the market's
contextualize
going
that
to
part
reset
too.
4 years anyway.
If this is a 4-year deal, they're going to start negotiating at the end of year 2. If it was a 6-year deal, he would have wanted to start negotiating at the end of year 4. So,
You lose
and
leverage.
then potentially you also have where he could tag you for 2 more years at the franchise tag, which is extremely dangerous for athletes because if you get hit, if you get injured, then you're not guaranteed any money. So I see how this didn't work. I understand both sides of it truly. On one side, you have Micah who wants his ability to re-up. And I understand that part. Jerry is like, well, I would like to have you longer, and potentially could have been paying him past his prime and past this elite level of production that he's getting. So it's a risk for both people, and clearly their timelines did match up. And I get that. And I think that's where, for the most part, other than some of the things that Jerry has done in the media that really split them up. I'm just gonna say it, I don't like that Jerry is attempting to negotiate with players without having their legal representation.
And in the public.
Yeah, I think that's very nasty work. And I look at that just like a police officer who don't want your lawyer present. If they don't want your lawyer present, they probably don't want your lawyer present for a reason. And that ain't in your best interest.
So you brought up an interesting fact about seeing both sides with Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to understand both sides after the initial shock wore off. And for me, the shock wasn't that he got traded. It was what they got back was the shock for me. But I understand Jerry being hesitant to give that much money because you paid Dak, got hurt. You paid Trayvon Diggs, got hurt. You paid DeMarcus Lawrence, got hurt. You paid CeeDee Lamb, he missed half the season. So you could hear it when Jerry was talking about Micah, even though he was trying to, trumpet a little bit and say he got hurt for 8 to 10 games when it was really like 4. But I could understand him saying, "Hey, I've literally paid everybody, and they've all gotten hurt. I'm not going through that again." But you also brought this on yourself because Jerry has a long reputation or long-standing reputation of waiting until the last minute to do deals. And I'm not just talking about Zeke, Dak, CeeDee, Micah. You can go back to the 90s and look at
Yeah.
Emmett. Y'all forgot that Emmett didn't play in the first week. He sat out totally.
Right.
It was like, and Jerry would not trade him, and Emmett would not come to practice. And they had to win a Super Bowl. So at that point, it's like, well, are y'all really surprised? That's how Jerry goes. And it gets him, it's terrible for him because he ends up paying more. But I mean,
Well, it depends. He does pay more, but you also save your money in the short term. It there's pros and cons to everything. I also think that documentary coming out when it did not help the situation. I think that it very much so lets you know that, and the triplets are the guys that I think he's loved more than anybody. With 2 out of the 3 of those guys, it didn't end happily. It took Troy a long time before I
Troy
think he
hates
came
Jerry
around. And
and
and,
Jimmy.
and Jerry, yeah. And I don't think that Emmett, it took him a while before he came back, and I'm pretty sure I think he probably compensated Emmett off the books. And
Mm.
Dion too, where it's none of these things ended happily. It's not like, hey, we rode off into the sunset together. No, not at all. It was tumultuous, and those are the babies. So at the end of the day, if you ain't won no championship, you can always go to hell.
Yeah.
I
I
do think that short term it puts the Packers in a situation where, and it's tricky for me because I think that they're Super Bowl contenders, but I'm still not sure if they're better than the Lions.
well, okay, so with the Packers, we talked about them in the NFC North preview. That they were probably the second best team in the division behind the
Oh, it's
Lions.
tight on Minnesota. It's tight on Minnesota now, boy.
With this defense now, and that's what I wanted to do. I was trying to pull up the depth chart. With this defense, you now start Rashawn Gary, really good, and Micah Parsons as your defensive ends. You now have Devontae Wyatt, who was one of them from the 2021-2022 Georgia defense at defensive tackle. You have Quay Walker, who was one of them from the Georgia defense, 2021-2022, who was a leading tackler. That's all in your front seven. And I haven't even talked about Nazir Stackhouse, who was one of them from the 2021, 2022, 2023 Georgia defense, who made the team. Then,
It's
it gets better now. It's more.
I yeah. But what I was gonna say is it gives your team a legitimate defensive identity, gives you a leader and a pace setter
I think they
to a
already have one.
defense. Now, this is with the money comes the leadership. I think that he is going to be the pace setter for that. I think that he's going to be the expectation. But this is already a super solid defense. So it goes from just, hey, this is a solid defense with a guy who can just go play with his hair on fire, and that's what he does best. And like me and you laughed at before, poor Caleb Williams. The first year in the league, everybody wins 10 games. Then next year, they may not all win 10 games, but everybody has a elite pass rusher. It don't get any better. It's tough to have an entrance to the NFL that's more unfortunate than that.
This defense now has this team. And I'll stick with the defense because I was getting to the point of they have Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, and Micah Parsons, which is a crazy 3 of your front 7. Is crazy. That's your 3 of your front 7. That's crazy. But then also, this defense now, you have your franchise quarterback for the next 4 years. I'm assuming 4 years. I think he signed his extension last year. You have your young coach who just turned, if he's 40, he just got there. And now you have your young defensive leader, and Micah
And you
Parsons
got a
locked
very
in for the
solid
next
running
5
back in
years.
Josh
Yeah,
Josh
I like Josh
Jackson?
Jacobs, but you
Jacobs.
cool. You cool. I like you. And you right. You right. I like you.
Right.
But in this conversation, you are not part of it. It is
Well,
the quarterback and Micah Parsons and the coach, who is also the offensive coordinator and a former quarterback's coach. Those
y-
3 are locked in for the next 5 years. So this is your window. This makes them, to me, in a knee-jerk reaction, probably a top 3 seed in the NFC, sans the wild card, because you'd have to beat Detroit. Unfortunately, Detroit is going to be in your division, so you may come in second to them, which then will put you in more like a 5th seed. But record-wise, to me, this may get them. They may be the Vikings of last year to Detroit. How the Vikings were 14-2 or 13-3 or whatever. Their defense And we ain't got to the secondary. They got Xavier McKinney. They got another one of them, Javon Bullard. They got him. They have so many players. They are so deep on defense now. I'm not gonna say they're the favorite because I respect the Lions, even though, hey, the Lions, remember, we talked about it in a special. They lost both of their coordinators. So even though the Lions are it, and we respect Dan
And
Campbell,
and a ton of other coaches too, position coaches. I think they lost like 6 or 7 coaches in
we
total.
believe in them. But to me, if the Packers can stay healthy, that defense gonna keep them in every game. To me, that defense gonna keep them in every game.
Now, I do say that if in the next 2 or 3 years they're not the tops of the NFC, then this deal has the potential to turn. Because Jerry does have 2 first rounders in the next 2 years. So there's 4 first
Yeah,
round picks in 2 years.
yeah, but
And
you think he gonna keep them?
no, I think they're trying to spend 1 and keep 3. That will be my strategy. I
To
will
me,
use 1 this year, and we've kind of talked about it already. We know that Trey Hendrickson is currently on the Bengals. I don't know how readily available they will be to make him, considering their defense is so bad, but I can see them potentially taking an edge rusher and a first round pick if available. And then if you put Kenny Clark and Trey Hendrickson and you still end up with a draft pick, then this is much more of a palatable trade than I think people kind of understand. And Jerry said it during the press conference. Y'all can go back and listen. That his main thing was he was only negotiating with teams that had enough cap space to sign Micah, and at the same time, they had a top tier defensive tackle. So he got his defensive tackle, and if you could replace that edge with something, you're not going to replace it with Micah, but if you could get something pretty solid, definitely like Trey Hendrickson level, if you could get him on like a 2 or 3, which would be like a 2-year, would be a 3-year deal with 2 years guaranteed, basically, and the first, then it's not bad.
I mean, sure. Dallas lost its identity. Parsons was the last front 7 player from that whole great defense that that whole really good defense that they had over the last 2 years in terms of DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and all of those other players that they were rolling out there. They're
Well,
all gone.
your identity has to be Dak Prescott at the amount that you paid him.
So at that point, you yes, you have 4 draft picks. But you made this point in the group chat. All the teams know that, and Jerry made it clear. All the teams know that, hey, you got to come talk to us. Like, remember, their window is right now, too. They paid Dak, they paid Trayvon, they paid CD. Their window is now, too. So
I
they still
agree.
have to make that point. And yeah, you could go get Trey Hendrickson, but if I'm the Bengals, yeah, you go get Trey Hendrickson. I'm gonna need more than just a pick for Trey.
Why? No, I don't. No, you don't. Because remember, he's only signed to this year. Dallas could play the long game here and say, all right, keep him for a year. I know I can sign him. I'll sign him to a 2-year deal next year.
That's fine.
And I'll pay him probably 2 years, $40 million, and I can keep my first round pick.
2 years,
Then you don't,
$40 million. He just got signed for 30.
yeah, but you're also playing for a better team and probably have a better chance of making the Super Bowl. Because
That's irrelevant. He could have done that this year if that was the case. He could have
I
said,
don't
fine, trade me, and they could have traded him somewhere else.
I don't think that they were going to do that. What I'm saying is he has the autonomy next year to pick wherever he wants to play. And I think that with the money that they didn't pay Micah, they could pay him enough to stick around, and then they will keep all 4 draft picks. That would be worst case scenario for the Bengals. You should at least try to get something for him before you let him walk for nothing.
It ain't
And
gonna
that's the
be.
reason I
I'm
will
not
only
gonna allow. If I'm the Bengals and I've committed this far, I'm not gonna allow Dallas to hustle me. I'll send him to Saskatchewan for a year, and you give. I'd rather take a 5th round pick from Saskatchewan than a 5th round
Well,
pick from Dallas.
well, then the other thing that I would do is I would take 3 of those picks and I say, hey, Cleveland, are you interested in 3 first-round picks from Myles Garrett? And
Yeah.
you have to take that, right? As a person with any level of sense, like you're not going to win in these next 2 years
Why do you think
anyway.
the Browns have sense?
No, well, and
They
that's
have
but
5 quarterbacks.
now we're back to Shedeur Sanders. But what I'm saying is, I think that if I will put that out in the media and say, hey, I offer 3 picks for Myles Garrett, 3 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, and I let the media eat them up.
Y'all not and you see, and this is another point you made. Y'all, Jerry talks real tough, but this is the only time that Jerry has really not been manhandled when it comes to his stars and paying his stars. Dak waited to the last minute and tried to talk with Dak, even though Dak was less of a
Dak did
holdout.
manhandle him. Dak manhandled him on the negotiation table. He said, "Oh, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm going to make you pay me like I don't deserve." And then when he paid him, Jerry said, "I think I probably paid more than I should have for it." That quietly manhandled him. He just did it in a polite way.
So did CD. Like
Yeah,
Jerry, for everybody we've named, Jerry talked tough, but then got manhandled. This is the only time he put his foot down. So again, I'm trying to reserve my reaction and say that this is a terrible or whatever because there's so many more moving parts that have to
it's nuanced.
move
It's a
from
sure.
Dallas.
And Dallas has going forward a lot more cap space flexibility. I don't think people understand. $47 million is a ton of money. It's a
No,
ton of
no, no, no,
money.
no, 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 no. If you're gonna look at Kirk Cousins' contract and talk about only the guaranteed money and all that stuff, you got to do the same for Micah. It's only $34 million guaranteed, which is what
Right,
$33 million is what the Dallas Cowboys offered him. Remember, it's 136 million guaranteed, 47
right.
with incentives.
He's going to get all of that money. Because
Why?
if
You
you
don't know the
don't,
incentives. One of the incentives could be you got to lead the league in sacks. That's going to be difficult to do.
that's fair. I think that he gets the vast majority of 188. I think he gets pretty close to it.
If he
And
gets
that's just
close
my
to it,
estimate.
if he gets closer, then it's worth it. That means he's hit all the incentives, then it's worth it. The trade is worth it, especially if you win. One of the incentives is going to be a Super Bowl. Like that's an incentive.
I will reserve that, just like I should have done the Terry McLaurin trade. I want to see the final numbers before I decide how great or how terrible this is. But Cowboys got money, and they got money right now, honestly.
Yeah, I mean they can go get Hassan Reddick. Max Crosby is still out there for whatever we don't know, but they now can. Hey, Atlanta, look, you don't know what Jerry gonna do. Kick the tires. We don't take 2 first rounders. We'll take 1, and we'll give you 2 pass rushers back. You want Ebiketie and somebody that's not, the 2 rookies? Cool.
Or you could, I mean, also you could, I mean, I might be willing to take a second. I mean, that's the other part about having 4 firsts is you're way more comfortable with giving up a second or a third.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hey, we got an abundance of mid pass rushers.
Yeah.
We can give you 2 mids
We
for
give
a
you some
mid.
holdovers. Yeah.
2
We
mid
give you some.
players for a mid pick. We can do it. And
Yeah.
we starve for picks.
Right. Now, I will say, once again, Terry Fontenot, congratulations. Thank you for doing the right thing at the right time when everybody
Sitting
thought you was
tight.
crazy. Just like when you took Michael Penix and then broke the quarterback ratio for the next 2 years, taking James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker in this year's draft, when everything that I've seen in next year's draft that the edge rushers are just not the same level. I don't know if you're lucky or insightful, but you made the right decision, brother.
Who's the Cowboys' first round pick this year? And what pick was that?
One,
Because we traded up to
one.
26 to get James Pierce Jr., which means
Uh,
because Dallas didn't make the playoffs last year.
Cowboys. No, that's the Giants. Tyler Booker, offensive guard from Alabama.
What pick?
The kid's good. 12. Then they got the edge from Boston College.
Reddick Part
Siobhan
2.
Revel from ECU, Jaden Blue from Texas, running back, Shamar James, linebacker from Florida, Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle from Oregon, Jay Toya from defensive tackle for UCLA, Phil Maffa, running back from Clemson, and then Tommy King Baseto, a defensive tackle from Maryland.
Yeah, cool. I was talking about the first round. So
Tyler Booker, offensive guard, Alabama.
yeah, I can see why you needed that, especially if you thought you were going to keep Micah. Because if you knew that you were going to lose Micah, phone. See what's happening when your kids break your screen. If you thought you were going to lose Micah, then you probably would have gone after James Pierce Jr.
I mean,
Which
they
is
still got the kid from Boston College in the second round, which is solid,
he was
but he ain't
supposedly the best technical pass rusher in the draft.
right.
But
I think that you would have probably. I think that Mike Green probably goes a little bit earlier. Also, he doesn't fall to Baltimore.
yeah,
I do question the timing, but I personally think the timing is off because I think that Jerry wanted Micah, and he wanted Micah to break.
cave. Yeah, you wanted him to
Yeah,
cave. Because he even said I could have
but
traded him in April. And I was like, well, you should have.
But I think he really wanted Micah, and I get what Jerry. While he is eccentric, I do understand that being a Dallas Cowboy does present you with a lot more money making offers. So even if I can't necessarily give you
Only if
every
you're good.
dollar, huh?
Only if you're good.
Well, Micah's good. Just like you look at what Dak made off the field last year. I think it was more than Steph. He made more than a lot of NBA players, is what I'm saying. And I get that point, but also give me my money.
If this worked, this remains to be seen. Because I could talk about this all day. To
You
me,
don't go ahead.
this makes the Packers a lock for the playoffs. To me, and it makes the Cowboys a fringe wild card team unless they make another big splash and go get maybe 2 players, which they can
Were
do.
they were they
But
not a
again,
wild card team before?
the timing keeps you the season starts next week. So it's not
I
like you
agree.
can go make a big difference in a week. You could get somebody, but you can't really get anybody on offense because you got to learn the whole offense. And they got a new coach, remember?
Yeah.
So you got to get somebody on defense because defense is easier to assimilate to,
But I mean,
especially in
I
the front
think
seven.
their offense is solid, and I forgot they got Pickens over there too. I mean,
Now see, you brought that up. So my sister is a Cowboys fan. If you look at the money, we traded for Pickens. We traded 2 picks for Pickens. And now you trade Parsons and get 2 better picks back. So if you look at it, you really traded George Pickens for Micah Parsons and
and
the
and,
and the
and Kenny
picks
Clark and
and
Kenny
Kenny
Clark.
Clark in the picks. And you lose 2 mid rounds, but you get 2 first rounds. I
Right?
think it was mid rounds. I don't think they gave up first rounds for George, but I'm pretty sure they
Nah.
did. So you give up, you gain picks, you gain cap space, you lose Micah, who said he wanted to be a Cowboys for life, and you hope that your scouting department, which you've leaned on, continues to be a top 10
Exceptional.
scouting department in the league.
10,
5.
5.
Because they don't miss in the
Right.
draft.
They
Really.
ain't like no, and a lot of like either Hall of Fame level or Ring of Honor level guys. They pick. I mean, shit. I wish we had somebody who's picking players as good as the Cowboys, and we
Yeah.
pick pretty good players, but we ain't picking like that.
Yeah.
But overall, this is an interesting trade. I think this is something we'll look back at. Now, the only potential issue you have is if the Packers win a championship, then you look like the New York Giants. That would be very bad and unfortunate.
No. You look crazy if the Packers win a championship and you don't follow and you don't stay competitive. The Packers have to
Yeah,
win a championship. They have to.
yeah,
This trade makes you win a championship because you're going all in and making Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So if you do that, you're saying this is the missing piece.
yeah.
Does it get you
And it
past
very
Detroit?
well.
Does it get you past
That's
Philly? I
that's
don't know.
my only thing is as good as Michael Parsons is, Detroit got Aiden Hutchinson. Like, let's race to see who'll be defensive player of the year.
But that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about, can you stop the offense? You can have Aiden Hutchinson, but if my defense can stop your offense, he don't play tight end. And if you
No,
make him play tight end, then he's not going to be as
that
effective on
Lions
defense.
offense is
Exactly, which
woo.
is why you get Micah Parsons. So
That, but that might be also the same reason that I feel like it's kind of negligible because even with the addition of Michael Parsons, you still behind the Lions in the NFC North.
are you? If they were
Yes.
this far apart, it's like right here.
Okay. Well, position group. I think Jared Goff is better than Love. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Josh Jacobs.
I
I
do
think
not
that
think
Sam.
Jared Goff is that much. If he is, it's inconsequential difference. I think they're the same player.
Okay. Sam Laporta is better than the Packers tight end. Amon St. Brown and that wide receiver core is better than the Packers, even though the Packers are good. I feel like your defensive leader, Aiden Hutchinson and Michael Parsons, that's a dog fall. And I think that they balance. They're close. They're close.
Who else? Because I mean, y'all keep Rashawn Gary is the one that can make or break this Packers defense. Micah gonna do Micah, but if you can't double Micah because of Rashawn Gary, who is good, he just got hurt.
Right.
Then, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. Now the
And
Lions have the
also,
offensive line to be able to absorb whatever Micah Parsons
right.
can do.
Exactly. They still got Panay Sewell looking like, hey, bro, let's do it. It should be interesting. I'm excited. This is a hell of a way to kick off the football season. Nothing better than to shake up moments before, literally days before the season kicks off. And I think that's all we
That's
got
what the
on this.
third.
This
That's the
this was
third year in a row, ain't it?
who was
Dat,
last year?
CD, Micah. That's the third
Oh
year in
yeah,
a row.
yeah, for sure.
Trayvon was, I think that might be 4.
I feel like Amari Cooper should have took his ass. In hindsight, he would have been like, "Oh, I could have been a Packer."
Amari Cooper can't catch. So I mean, we'll see. But that's it, right?
That is the
I'm
end.
surprised. We're gonna take a break real quick, and then that boy's trying with these sound effects. And
Yep.
then we will be right back with the NFC East and the AFC East.
Adios, mi amigos. Until we meet again. Arrivederci.